I arrived at my granddaughter Amelia Carter's birthday party holding a small gift I had wrapped myself. The brownstone on Manhattan's Upper West Side was filled with polished elegance, white orchids lined the walls, soft jazz floated through the air, and servers in black vests moved silently between guests. I hadn't truly been invited, I had been expected. That difference, subtle at first, had grown painfully loud over the years. "Grandma Ruth is here," my son Michael announced, not bothering to look up from his phone. The way he said it felt like a minor inconvenience, as if the weather had suddenly changed, not enough to stop the party, but enough to sigh about. I tightened my grip on the box in my hands. Inside were two handmade dolls, one of Amelia in a wedding gown, the other of her fiancé, Oliver, in a tuxedo. I had spent 3 weeks knitting them, my fingers aching and swollen from arthritis. Each stitch had been made with care, with memory, with love. What no one else knew was that inside Amelia's doll, sewn carefully into the center of its chest, was a diamond passed down through 3 generations. My late husband Thomas had it reset for our 50th anniversary. Amelia had hinted about it more than once, always casually, always with a smile. When it was time to open gifts, my daughter-in-law Karen tapped her glass. "Amelia, sweetheart, start with the smaller ones." Amelia's gaze landed on me and the package in my hands. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I stepped forward and handed it to her. "Happy birthday, my love." She took the box delicately, her manicured fingers sparkling with diamonds under the chandelier. Oliver stood across the room, watching with the same detached look someone might use to judge an expensive menu. Amelia opened the box. The room went quiet. She lifted the dolls carefully, holding them away from her cream-colored dress, as if they were something pulled from a forgotten attic. "This looks so cheap," she laughed loudly, the sound echoing against marble walls. The laughter followed, Oliver's amused chuckle, Michael's forced laugh, Karen's polite titter, and the rest of the guests joining in without knowing why. I stood frozen, heat rising to my face, unable to move. The doll, with the diamond hidden inside, hung loosely from Amelia's fingers like an insult. That night, I returned to my apartment alone. I didn't turn on the lights. The silence felt kinder than the party had been. I opened my laptop, and an email caught my eye immediately. Subject: Final venue confirmation, Caldwell Beach House. My heart sank. Attached to the email were contracts from the wedding planner, florist, and caterer, each requiring my signature and payment. The venue listed was my beach house in East Hampton, the same house Thomas and I had bought over 40 years ago. It was where we raised our children, spent summers barefoot by the sea, and where I scattered his ashes beneath the cherry tree overlooking the water. Amelia's message was brief and cold: "We've already sent out the invitations. Renovations start next month. Your old furniture will need to go." It wasn't a request. It was a decision made without me. My hands trembled as I closed the laptop. I looked at the beach house keys resting on my nightstand, Thomas's initials engraved into the brass. The realization hurt more than the humiliation earlier that evening. They didn't just want the house. They wanted me gone from it. The next morning, Michael sent another message. "Mom, Karen found a great retirement community in Connecticut. We scheduled a visit next week, just to look." I deleted it. From my window, the Manhattan skyline gleamed in the morning sun. I wondered how many lives had been quietly rearranged in those buildings without permission. Without fully thinking it through, I grabbed my purse and the beach house keys and left. The drive to East Hampton felt longer than usual. My hands ached from gripping the steering wheel, but I needed to see the house before it was stripped of its soul. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed a sleek black SUV parked outside, one I didn't recognize. The front door was unlocked. Inside, voices echoed from the great room, where Thomas used to play jazz records on Sunday mornings. The wall between the kitchen and dining area should come down, a woman said casually. Mrs. Caldwell barely comes here anyway. I stepped into the room. There stood Amelia, Karen, and a designer holding a digital tablet. Amelia perched on the counter like she owned the place. Actually, I said quietly, I do mind. They all turned. Karen recovered first. Ruth? What a surprise. We are just discussing small wedding updates. Removing a load-bearing wall isn't a small update, I replied. Amelia smiled sweetly. Grandma, we talked about this. You said we could use the house. I said you could use it, I answered. Not erase it. The designer interrupted, speaking slowly. It's modernization. The house is dated. I turned to the window, staring at the ocean, the same view Thomas and I had shared every morning. Then I noticed something missing. The photograph of Thomas and me from the mantel was gone. Where is my photograph? I asked. Karen glanced around vaguely. Oh, we packed some personal items to keep them safe during renovations. That night, after they left, I went to the garage. 3 cardboard boxes sat in the corner labeled R. Caldwell Personal. Inside were my photo albums, Thomas's books, and the 2 knitted dolls, tossed carelessly on top. The diamond was still inside. My phone rang. Mom, Michael said, uneasy. About the house, we think moving it into a family trust would be best. I stared at a retirement brochure on the table. Where independence meets assistance. They were planning a future without me. The next day, I met my oldest friend Margaret Lewis for lunch. After listening quietly, she looked at me and said, "This isn't rude, Ruth. This is a takeover." Later that week, my cardiologist Dr. Simmons confirmed what I already felt. Stress at your age is dangerous, he warned. On the way home, I stopped at the small bank Thomas and I had used for decades. Inside the safe deposit box were documents my family didn't know existed, the deed to the beach house, account details, and insurance policies. That evening, my grandson Evan called. Grandma. I think Dad's in financial trouble. I checked my bank account. 3 failed login attempts from an unknown device. It wasn't about love. It was about money. The next morning, I called Thomas's old friend, estate attorney Leonard Brooks. You need to act, he said calmly. And the wedding, he asked. I didn't hesitate. I'm selling the house. Leonard listened quietly as I told him everything, the party, the dolls, the email, the house plans made without my consent. When I finished, he leaned back and folded his hands. Ruth, he said carefully, your family is moving faster than you think. And not in your best interest. He explained the risks clearly. Once a property was moved into a trust or partially transferred, control became complicated. Decisions could be made for me, not by me. I felt a chill run through my body, not fear, but clarity. So what do? I asked. First, secure your accounts. Second, confirm the house stays solely in your name. And third, he paused. Decide what you want. That night, I barely slept. I walked through my apartment, touching old furniture, old photographs, realizing how easily people erase things they no longer value. By morning, my decision was firm. I called Sophie Reynolds, a private real estate agent Leonard trusted. I need a discreet sale, I told her. Off-market. No signs. No gossip. She hesitated. That house is prime property, Ruth. These things take time. Not this one, I said. The right buyer will understand privacy. 2 days later, I returned to the beach house alone. The silence felt different, heavy, but honest. I walked room to room, memories echoing in every corner. Thomas sanding the banister. Children running through wet sand. Quiet mornings with coffee and jazz. I packed only what mattered. Photo albums. Thomas's books. The wooden box with part of his ashes. And the dolls, still tossed carelessly in a box in the garage. On the kitchen counter lay a wedding planner's schedule for tent placement. I folded it once, then dropped it into the trash. As I locked the front door, headlights swept across the driveway. A woman stepped out holding a clipboard. Mrs. Caldwell. I'm from Evermore Events. Just checking tent dimensions. There's no need, I said calmly. The wedding plans have changed. Her confusion told me Amelia didn't know yet. Good. Back in the city, my grandson Evan came over for dinner. I roasted chicken, the meal he loved as a child. As we ate, I told him the truth. I'm selling the beach house. He froze, fork midair. Before the wedding. Yes. They are going to lose their minds. I know, I replied. But they lost the right to assume anything when they stopped treating me like family. He studied me for a long moment, then smiled softly. You know what's strange, Grandma? I think I respect you more now than ever. That night, my phone exploded. Missed calls. Messages. Voicemails filled with panic. I silenced it and slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. The next morning, Michael showed up unannounced, still in his running clothes, face red with anger. What are you doing? He snapped. Good morning, I said calmly. Coffee? I don't want coffee. I want answers. You're selling the house weeks before Amelia's wedding, he shouted. My house, I reminded him gently. He paced the room, hands shaking. Finally, the truth spilled out. Failed investments. Mounting debt. A project collapse. Lawsuits looming. We were just trying to protect you, he said weakly. No, I replied. You were trying to protect yourselves. The house closed in 5 weeks, I told him. The money would go into new accounts he couldn't access. You do this to your own family, he whispered. I looked at him steadily. You already did. I moved into a modern condo in Cambridge on a rainy Thursday. No ocean, no salt air, but it was mine. Clean lines. Big windows. Quiet that felt peaceful instead of lonely. 2 days later, Evan came by with a bottle of wine and a framed photograph. The beach house at sunset, glowing gold. You seem lighter here, he said. I am, I replied. No one's expectations are pressing down on me. Then the news came. Oliver had ended the engagement. His parents pulled financial support. Amelia stopped leaving her apartment. I wanted to feel satisfied. I didn't. I felt reflective. Michael called one night, voice strained. She's not well. Please, talk to her. I hesitated, then sent a message. Would you like to meet for coffee? Her reply was sharp. So you can gloat? No. So I can listen. We met 2 days later. Amelia looked broken, eyes red, confidence gone. You sold the house knowing what it would do to me, she said. Because it mattered more to you than I did, I answered softly. Then I told her about the diamond. Her face crumpled. I never even looked, she whispered. I know. 3 days later, she came to my door holding the dolls. She had found the diamond. I don't deserve it, she said. It was never about deserving, I replied. She pushed it back toward me. But I needed you to know I understand now. A year later, I hosted a small gathering in my Cambridge condo. The guest list was modest but meaningful. Evan arrived thriving in his photography career. Friends laughed easily. Then Amelia walked in, holding autumn flowers. Over dinner, conversation flowed gently, no tension, no performance. After dessert, Evan raised his glass. To Grandma Ruth, he said. For teaching us it's never too late to stand up for yourself. Amelia added quietly, and that true value isn't always visible. Later, she handed me a small velvet box. Inside was the diamond, reset into a silver pendant. I think you should wear it, she said. Not save it for someone else's future. I fastened it around my neck. Standing on the balcony afterward, watching the river shimmer below, I felt grounded. The beach house was gone. The old family dynamic had broken. But what remained was honest, rebuilt, and real. And for the first time in years, it was mine.